The slam of the screen door rattled the frame behind me, and my mom's voice cut through the humid evening air like a whip. "Don't just storm off, Emily. I did what was best for this family." Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I spun on my heel in the driveway, my sneakers skidding against the cracked asphalt. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "You sold my car? Without even asking me. That's not best for the family, Mom. That's theft." She stood on the porch, arms folded, her expression that smug, self-righteous calm that made my blood boil. "You barely use it anyway, and your sister needed the money for her honeymoon. It's her dream trip to Maui. What was I supposed to do? Let her start married life disappointed?" My hands curled into fists at my sides. "So my dreams don't matter? The fact that I worked double shifts for 2 years to buy that car? That means nothing?" "Emily," she said, lowering her voice as if the neighbors might overhear. "You're single, you live here rent-free, and you don't need a car right now. You can take the bus to work. This was the right choice." Her words hit me like cold steel. The right choice for who? Certainly not for me. I could feel heat rising up my neck, a dangerous mixture of humiliation and fury. Behind her, through the open doorway, I caught a glimpse of my sister, Madison, lounging on the couch with her fiancé, giggling over some glossy travel brochure. She didn't even look at me, just tucked a strand of her perfect blonde hair behind her ear like this whole thing was beneath her notice. That was the final straw. "You know what?" I said, my voice shaking but loud enough for both of them to hear. "Enjoy Maui. Enjoy every second. Because the moment you get back, things are going to be very, very different around here." Madison smirked without turning her head. "Don't be dramatic, Em. It's just a car." Just a car. The words stung in a way I couldn't describe. That vehicle wasn't just metal and paint. It was my independence, my escape from this suffocating house, the proof that I could build something on my own without handouts. I didn't trust myself to speak again, so I walked. Past the porch, past the overgrown hedges, down the street until their voices were just faint echoes behind me. The sky was bruised purple and gold, the summer air heavy with the scent of freshly cut grass. My chest was tight, my thoughts racing so fast I barely noticed the headlights slowing beside me. A black SUV rolled to a stop at the curb. The tinted window hummed down, and a familiar deep voice said, "Emily? Need a ride?" I froze. My stomach flipped, not from fear, but from the sudden, surreal realization of who was sitting behind the wheel. It wasn't a neighbor. It wasn't a friend. It was someone my mother would never expect to see pulling up for me. And the look in his eyes told me this night was about to change everything. The SUV door opened with a soft click. Clean leather, a dash light glowing low, and Ethan Cole's steady eyes. "Emily Hart, right?" he said. "From the fundraiser." "Yeah?" My voice still shook. "My mom sold my car." He nodded once, like he'd heard things like this 1,000 times and still refused to treat them as normal. "Get in. We'll talk somewhere that isn't a stage." We rolled away. The neighborhood fell behind us, porch lights, cut grass, a hum of summer. I held the coffee he handed me like a heat pack. "Tell me what happened," he said. I gave him the bones. Overtime shifts, the down payment, the keys I kept on a hook, the text from Madison. "We booked Maui. Mom helped. Don't be mad." And my mom's line. "You don't need it anyway." He listened. No interruptions, thumbs resting on the wheel at 10 and 2, like control was a quiet thing. "The title's in your name?" he asked. "In my room," I said. "I never signed anything." "Then the sale is invalid," he said evenly. "We'll start a report, broadcast the VIN, and pay a visit to whoever took it. Tonight." Something loosened in my chest. I took a breath that reached my ribs. "Thank you." He parked beneath a lamp in a quiet lot. "Before we walk back into that house," he said, "text someone you trust where you are. And tonight, you don't sleep there. Pack a bag, grab the title, and stay elsewhere. Anyone willing to sell your car is willing to borrow whatever else isn't nailed down." I texted Sierra, "I'm safe," with Detective Ethan Cole, filing a report. "I'm not staying at home tonight." She replied in seconds, "Share location, proud of you. Text when you're settled." We returned to the block. A small audience had gathered with that uncanny neighborhood radar for drama. My mom stood on the porch, chin high. Madison and her fiancé, Aaron, posted like they were already accepting gifts for a wedding that never ends. Ethan stepped out beside me, calm as a locked door. "Ma'am," he said to my mom, "Detective Cole, we're opening a theft by conversion report. I need the dealer's name, time of transfer, amount, and method of payment." My mom did that brittle laugh. "This is a family matter. I handled it for the household." "It's a criminal matter," Ethan said. "The car is titled to your adult daughter." "Relax," Aaron cut in, flexing fake confidence. "Rick at Bendix Auto helped. Friends help friends." Ethan's look was mild and ice cold. "Great. Then he'll call me back quickly." Madison rolled her eyes at me. "You're blowing this up. It's just a car." "It was my boundary," I said, the words landing clean. "You don't get to cross it because your trip needs an upgrade." Ethan's tone turned procedural. "Spare keys?" Silence. I walked past them into the kitchen and pulled the red-capped key from the junk drawer. When I came back, Ethan took a quick photo for the record. "Ms. Hart, grab your documents and what you need for a few days," he said softly. "I'll wait." Packing was fast and surgical. Passport, title, a folder of pay stubs, jeans, work shirts, charger. I shut my bedroom door and took one last scan of the room I'd kept small on purpose. Do not touch my life, I thought. Not anymore. In the hall, my mom tried an old script. "If you leave, don't bother coming back until you're ready to apologize." "For being stolen from?" I asked. "No." We stepped outside. A phone camera glinted from the sidewalk. Ethan didn't rush me. He let me move at my own speed and still somehow made the whole scene feel like it ran on his clock. At the station, fluorescent lights hummed, a sound I decided meant, "This gets documented." Ethan typed while I spoke, reading back every line so there were no loose edges. He flagged the VIN, left a crisp message for Bendix Auto, and printed a copy of my statement. "Where are you staying?" he asked when we walked out. I hesitated. "I can't put Sierra in the middle." "You can take my spare room tonight," he said, voice careful. "Lock on the door, deadbolt on the hall. Text your coworker my ID, share your location. Tomorrow we get your car back or the money back, and both if the dealer's sloppy." My dignity wanted to argue. My common sense nodded. "I'll replace your coffee and paper towels," I said. "Deal." His place was tidy, light on things, heavy on function. He set a toothbrush on the sink, pointed at the Wi-Fi password, and stepped back like a person who understood space. "People like your mother count on your fear of conflict," he'd said earlier. "Don't confuse peace with silence." I locked the spare room door, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the folder with my title. It felt like a spine. My phone buzzed. "Sierra, you good?" And a beat later, an unknown number left a voicemail. Ethan appeared in the doorway, phone to his ear, eyes sharpening. "Bendix called back," he said. "Put it on speaker." A man's voice filled the room, oily smooth. "Detective, this is Rick at Bendix Auto. I don't know what story you heard, but we did a clean cash deal. Lady said it was her car, and frankly, I don't have time for family drama." Ethan didn't blink. "Then you'll have time for paperwork. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., bring your bill of sale and a copy of the title you claim you saw. We'll compare signatures." A pause, the tiniest crackle of nerves. "Fine," Rick said, too quick. We'll sort it out." Ethan ended the call and met my eyes. "That crack in his voice?" he said. "It means he knows he stepped." In it, I exhaled, a tired, shaky laugh pulling at my mouth. "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," he said. "Sleep. You'll need your voice." I lay back, lights off, phone on the nightstand, door locked. For the first time in a long time, the quiet wasn't a punishment. It was a promise. Morning came in quiet layers. First the sound of a coffee maker gurgling somewhere in the kitchen, then faint footsteps across hardwood, then the hum of a phone vibrating against a counter. I sat up, blinking at the pale rectangle of sunlight sneaking through the blinds. For a second, I didn't remember where I was. Then I saw my backpack at the foot of the bed, the folder with my car title resting on top like a sentry, and it all snapped back into place. Ethan knocked lightly before opening the door a few inches. "You're up," he said, holding 2 mugs. "Coffee, 1 cream, 3 sugars." The fact that he remembered from last night startled me more than the coffee itself. "Thanks," I said, wrapping both hands around the mug. He leaned against the doorframe. "Rick from Bendix called early. He said he'd be in by 9 to clear up the misunderstanding, which means he's trying to get ahead of the mess." I raised an eyebrow. "And what's the plan?" "We go in, you say as little as possible, and let me handle the talking. If they still have the car, we get it. If they sold it again, we push for the money. Either way, I want them sweating by the time we walk out." The corner of my mouth tugged into a smile. "Sounds like you've done this before." "Let's just say I've met my share of Ricks," he said, straightening. "Finish your coffee. We leave in 20. By the time we pulled into Bendix Auto, the morning sun had turned the cracked lot into a sheet of white glare. Rows of used cars sat with little neon stickers screaming, "Hot deal," across their windshields. A middle-aged man in aviator sunglasses stepped out from the office, wiping his hands on a rag he clearly didn't need. "Detective," he greeted, too loud, too fake. "And you must be Emily." I nodded once, gripping the folder under my arm. "Where's my car?" Rick's smile twitched. "Well, here's the thing. Your mother said—" Ethan cut in, his voice like ice over stone. "We're not here to talk about her story. We're here to see the bill of sale and the title you supposedly verified before taking possession." Rick glanced toward the office like it might give him backup. "I don't have it on me right this second." "That's fine," Ethan said smoothly. "We'll walk inside with you. You can get it from your files, and before you try to claim the title wasn't necessary, I'll remind you that knowingly accepting stolen property is a felony in this state." Rick's posture deflated an inch. "Look, the car's still here. I didn't run it yet. I can reverse the deal." My heart jumped. "You mean I can take it back?" He scratched his jaw. "Well, technically, I already gave your mom a cashier's check." "That's between you and her," Ethan said flatly. "You give the car back to Ms. Hart. Today." Inside, the smell of old coffee and motor oil clung to the air. Ethan stayed close as Rick handed over the keys, his hands moving like they were made of lead. When we stepped back outside, my silver Honda Civic sat in the corner of the lot, exactly as I'd last seen it, except for a thin layer of dust and the dealership tag hanging where my plate used to be. I ran my hand over the hood, the familiar smoothness grounding me. "You have no idea what this means," I said quietly. Ethan tilted his head toward the driver's side. "Go on. Make sure it still feels like yours." Sliding into the seat, I breathed in the faint scent of the air freshener I'd clipped to the vent months ago. The dash was just as I'd left it, down to the folded grocery receipt in the cup holder. Rick stood a few feet away, mumbling into his phone. I caught the words, "misunderstanding" and "deal off," before Ethan's voice cut across the lot. "Next time you take a vehicle, verify the legal owner," he said sharply. "If I hear your name in another report like this, I'll make sure it sticks harder than dust on chrome." Rick nodded quickly, sunglasses flashing as he turned away. I pulled the Civic into gear, following Ethan's SUV out of the lot. The whole drive back, my fingers stayed wrapped around the steering wheel like it might vanish if I loosened my grip. When we parked outside his place, I stayed in the car for a second, the weight of the last 24 hours settling into my bones. "I don't know how to thank you," I said finally. Ethan rested his arm on the open window frame. "Keep your title where only you can touch it. And next time someone says you don't need something you worked for, remember this morning." The truth of that landed deep. For once, I didn't feel like a problem someone else had to manage. I felt solid. And I knew my mom wouldn't be expecting the way I planned to return this car to the driveway. The Civic's tires crunched over the gravel as I turned into my street. I didn't bother to creep in quietly. If anything, I wanted the sound to carry. Let them hear it. Ethan followed in his SUV, stopping a house away. We'd agreed he'd hang back unless things went sideways, but I already knew they would. Madison was the first to appear, stepping onto the porch with a glass of orange juice in hand. She squinted at the sunlight, then froze when she saw the car. The glass tilted dangerously before she caught herself. Her voice carried across the yard. "You have got to be kidding me." The front door swung open and my mom came out, arms crossed, wearing that same robe she'd been in last night. "Emily," she said sharply, "where did you get that?" I parked dead center in the driveway, the way Aaron always did when he wanted everyone to notice his new truck. Stepping out, I dangled the keys between two fingers. "From the place you sold it to without asking me. They gave it back." My mom's mouth tightened. We had an agreement. We didn't have anything, I cut in. You had a plan, and it involved taking what wasn't yours. Madison came down the steps, bare feet slapping against the concrete. You embarrassed us, she snapped, going to some cop like a tattletale instead of handling it privately. I laughed, low and sharp. Privately? So you could keep the honeymoon money and my car? That's not privacy, that's theft with nicer lighting. Aaron appeared in the doorway, leaning one shoulder against the frame. We already booked the resort, non-refundable. That sounds like a you problem, I said, sliding the key into my pocket. My mom stepped closer, her voice dropping to that warning tone she'd used on me since I was old enough to stand my ground. You're being petty. Madison's wedding is once in a lifetime. She deserved a proper start. Funny, I said. You never thought about my starts. College, moving out, buying this car. Those didn't matter. Madison rolled her eyes. This isn't about you. Oh, it's exactly about me, I said. And about you learning that I'm not the quiet one anymore. She opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. I pulled my phone from my pocket, hit record, and let the screen face them. So, just for the record, do either of you deny selling my car without permission? Madison stiffened. Aaron shifted uneasily. My mom's jaw worked, but nothing came out. That's what I thought, I said. Ethan's already got the report filed. If you try this again with anything else I own, the next conversation will be in a courtroom. From the corner of my eye, I saw the curtain twitch in the neighbor's window. Madison noticed too, and her face flushed crimson. You're making a scene, she hissed. I smiled, and it wasn't nice. I'm ending one. I got back into the Civic, backed it neatly into the garage, and hit the button to close the door. The metal clanged shut between us, leaving their muffled voices outside. For the first time in years, I felt like the space inside these walls was mine. And judging by the way Ethan's SUV eased past a minute later, his faint nod in my direction, I knew he saw it too. By the time I turned onto my street, I could already see them on the porch, Madison in shorts and a tank top, sipping from a tall glass, Aaron leaning against the post like he owned the place, and my mom standing in the center with her arms crossed like a judge waiting for a verdict. The moment the Civic rolled into the driveway, Madison straightened, her mouth curling into disbelief. No way! You went and got it back? I stepped out, letting the keys dangle between my fingers. Yeah, because it's mine. Aaron gave a humorless laugh. You just ruined our honeymoon. Non-refundable means we can't get that money back. Then maybe you should have booked it with your money, I said, locking the door with a satisfying click. My mom came down the first step, her voice low but sharp. Emily, this is petty. We did what was best for the family. I turned to face her fully. You did what was convenient for Madison, and you decided my work, my time, and my boundaries didn't matter. That's not best for the family. That's selfish. Madison scoffed, stepping closer. You barely even drive that thing. It's just sitting here. It was my choice what to do with it, I said evenly. And now it's going to sit here a lot, because it's not leaving this driveway without me in it. The silence after that was thick. Even the neighbor across the street had stopped pretending to water her plants and was just watching. I walked to the garage, pressed the opener, and slowly backed the Civic inside. As the metal door lowered, I caught one last glimpse of their faces. Madison tight with frustration, Aaron muttering something to her, and my mom staring like she was trying to figure out what move she had left. The door clicked shut, sealing the quiet in with me. For the first time in this house, the quiet didn't feel like tension. It felt like control. The sizzle of steaks on the grill was loud, but not loud enough to drown out my father's voice as it sliced through the air like a blade. Hey, Madison, he called out with a smirk that told me trouble was coming. You're old enough to pay rent or get out. This isn't a charity. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us, where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. The laughter that followed wasn't just his. It came from my stepmother, Denise, and my younger half-brother, Tyler, who leaned back in his chair, popping open another beer like he'd just heard the best joke of the night. My hands tightened around the plate I was holding, the paper edges crumpling under my grip. It wasn't just the words. It was the timing. He said it in front of the whole family, while neighbors mingled in the yard, pretending not to hear. He wanted them to hear. He wanted me humiliated. I set the plate down slowly on the picnic table, forcing myself to keep my voice steady. You've been taking half my paycheck for years, Dad. I've been paying the bills. His face twisted into that fake, exaggerated shrug he used when mocking me. So, that's called life. If you don't like it, find somewhere else to live. Tyler chuckled under his breath. Good luck with that. The air felt heavy with the scent of grilled meat and something darker, disgust, betrayal. I could feel the eyes on me from across the yard. They all thought I'd stay quiet, maybe cry later in my room. But that wasn't going to happen this time. I stepped closer to him, close enough that the flicker of the grill's flames lit up his smirk. Fine, I said, my voice low but sharp. You want me gone? You'll get your wish. He laughed, waving his tongs at me like I was a pesky fly. Yeah? And where are you going to go? Back to your little apartment that fell apart? You've got no savings, Madison. The rest of the evening blurred into a tense mix of forced smiles and whispered gossip. But in my mind, plans were already snapping into place. He didn't know what I had been working on quietly for months. He didn't know I'd just gotten the keys to my own house. By the time the BBQ was over, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to drag this out. If he wanted me gone, he was going to see just how far gone I could be. And when I left, I'd take more than my things. I'd take the comfort he thought he controlled. The next morning, I loaded the last box into the back of my car. My hands shook, not from sadness, but from the rush of knowing what was coming. I drove to my new place, a small but beautiful 2-story home with white siding and a wraparound porch. The air smelled fresher here. By noon, I had the deed in my name on the kitchen counter. I sent a short, simple message to my dad. I've moved out. The bills are yours now. It didn't take long. Within an hour, my phone lit up with his number. I let it ring. Then another call from Denise. I let that one ring too. By dinner time, I heard the sound of a truck pulling up outside my new house. I looked out the window and saw my father getting out, his face pale, his jaw tight. Denise trailed behind, looking as if she'd swallowed something sour. When I stepped onto my porch, he stopped at the bottom of the steps. You're not serious, he said, voice low, urgent. I leaned against the railing, my arms crossed. I told you, you said pay rent or get out. I chose get out. And now, my voice sharpened. I'll stop paying your bills too. His face drained of color completely. Denise's lips parted, but no sound came out. Tyler's car was behind them, and even he looked uneasy. For the first time in my life, I realized the power I'd been giving them all along. And I knew I was just getting started. The moment they drove away, I stood on my porch and just breathed. Not relief. No, not yet. It was the first inhale in years that didn't feel like I owed someone for the air. I didn't waste time. I went inside, grabbed my laptop, and began cutting every cord they'd been feeding on. Electric bill? Gone from my account. Gas? Removed. Internet? Water? Car insurance? Severed one by one. With each confirmation email, I felt my spine straighten. An hour later, my phone lit up. Dad calling. I let it ring. Denise next, then Tyler. I didn't answer a single one. By late afternoon, the group chat started blowing up. Dad, this isn't funny, Maddie. The Wi-Fi's down. Denise, you can't just shut things off. That's not how family works. Tyler, hope you're happy. You ruined dinner. I typed one line and sent it. I've moved out. Bills are your responsibility now. Please don't show up uninvited. I thought that would be the end of it, until I saw their truck pull up outside my new place. Dad got out first, jaw tight. Denise trailed behind with her arms crossed. Tyler didn't even bother leaving the car. Dad stopped at the bottom step. All right, enough of this stunt. You made your point? Turn the accounts back on for a week while we transition. I met his gaze. Number, you've been taking half my paycheck for years. You made it clear last night. You want me gone. I'm gone. And so is my money. Denise's voice cracked with a bitter laugh. Wow. Cold. No, I said, stepping down to meet them halfway. Cold is laughing at your kid in front of neighbors? This question mark. This is warm compared to that. Dad's mouth opened, but nothing came out. For the first time, I saw something I'd never seen in him before. Hesitation. I walked back up the porch. You'll figure it out, just like I did. The door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time in years, I realized I was Finally, the one holding the lock. The next morning, I woke up to the kind of silence that doesn't exist in my father's house. No stomping boots, no blaring TV, no Denise shouting about some misplaced receipt. Just stillness. I made coffee in my small but bright kitchen, the steam curling into the sunlight that poured through the window. For a second, I almost smiled, until my phone started buzzing. Unknown number. Call us. This is urgent. Dad, the electric's off. There's food spoiling. We have to talk. Denise, if you care about this family, you'll fix this today. I set the phone down, refusing to let their chaos bleed into my morning. They were just learning what I'd known for years. Bills don't magically pay themselves. By noon, the knock started. 3 sharp raps on my front door. I checked the camera. Denise, alone this time. Sunglasses hiding half her face. I opened the door just enough. What do you want? Her smile was forced, brittle. We need the car insurance in your name for just a few more days. Tyler's got an interview. I shook my head. I already moved it to my address. It's my policy. If Tyler's driving, he needs his own. Her jaw twitched. You're punishing us. No, I said, leaning against the frame. I'm refusing to be punished anymore. She blinked, caught off guard by how calm I sounded. Your father's furious. You know, he's only like this because he's stressed. The shop closing? That shop closed 3 years ago, I cut in. He's had 3 years to stop leaning on me like a crutch. For a moment, the mask slipped. Her eyes hardened. You'll regret this. Sooner than you think. I closed the door without answering. That night, as I was unpacking boxes in my new living room, my phone lit up again, this time with an email from my bank. Suspicious login attempt detected. My stomach tightened. I logged in, multiple failed password attempts. And then something else. A department store credit card I'd never opened, registered to my name with an address that wasn't mine. It didn't take long to connect the dots. My purse had gone missing in the old house a year ago, only to reappear 2 days later with nothing missing, or so I thought. Tyler, I printed every email, every statement, and slid them into a folder marked boundaries in big black letters. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore, I was building a case. At midnight, another text came in from Tyler. You think you're better than us now? Watch your mailbox. I stared at the screen, the anger in my chest sharpening into something colder, steadier. They weren't just losing my money, they were losing their grip. And the more they realized it, the uglier this was going to get. The next 2 days were quiet, too quiet. No knocks, no calls, just the occasional text from Tyler dripping with sarcasm or veiled threats. I kept my replies short, always, in writing, careful like my attorney advised. Every word, every date, every attempt they made to pull me back in, I saved it. By the third morning, the silence broke. My phone buzzed nonstop as I sipped coffee at my kitchen counter. Screenshots from friends and neighbors started rolling in. Facebook posts from Denise, written in that self-pitying tone she'd perfected. Some people think they can just turn their back on family. After all we've done, they leave us in the dark. Literally. The comments were predictable. Mutual friends offering sympathy, distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years asking what happened, and of course, her favorite move, leaving just enough detail out so the villain could be anyone. But the most telling thing, not one of them tagged me, not one said my name. They wanted to paint the picture without giving me a brush. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I called the power company, water company, and internet provider again to confirm every account had been switched to their name. I wasn't giving them a single inch of leverage. By noon, my doorbell rang. The camera feed made my jaw tighten. Dad this time, alone, hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. I opened the door but stayed behind the threshold. What is it? His voice was calmer than I expected, but the edge was still there. We've got a situation. The mortgage payment's due, and without your transfer, not my problem, I said before he could finish. His eyes narrowed. Do you even hear yourself? You've been part of this household for years. You don't just walk away from responsibilities overnight. I laughed. Actually laughed, sharp and humorless. You mean the responsibilities you dumped on me the second I started working? The ones you never asked about, just took? He stepped closer. You think this new place makes you better than us? That you can just hide here while we drown? I met his stare without blinking. I'm not hiding, Dad. I'm just done being your lifeline. His jaw worked like he was chewing on a dozen unsaid threats. Then he turned to leave, but not before tossing one last shot over his shoulder. You're going to regret this when you come crawling back. I closed the door slowly, almost enjoying the click of the lock. Crawling back wasn't in my vocabulary anymore. That night, as the sun dipped low and the air cooled, I saw their situation unravel in real time. A neighbor from my old street called me, voice low like we were sharing a secret. They were out in the driveway arguing, loud. Something about the bank account being overdrawn. Denise was screaming that she couldn't buy groceries, and your dad kept saying it's your fault. I thanked them, hung up, and sat there for a long moment. They were feeling it now, the weight I'd carried alone for years pressing down on them for the first time. The next day, I decided to make it clear this wasn't just about me. Leaving, it was about reclaiming every inch of control they'd stolen. I went to the bank, met with the manager, and closed the last joint account they still had access to. When I left, the folder in my bag felt heavier, thicker, more complete. That evening, a text came through from Denise. You've made your point. We get it. Just, please help us this month. We'll figure it out after. I didn't reply. 2 hours later, a public post appeared on her profile. Funny how people change when they think they don't need you anymore. But life has a way of humbling everyone. For once, she was right. Life does have a way of humbling everyone, and theirs was only getting started. It was a Saturday morning when the perfect opportunity landed in my lap. I was sipping coffee, scrolling through emails, when one from the mortgage company for my dad's address popped up. The subject line read, Urgent, past due balance, and notice of public auction. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I hadn't lived there for weeks, and I'd already removed my name from everything tied to that house. But when I opened it, I realized the bank must have still had me listed as an emergency contact from years ago. The letter was blunt. 2 payments missed, no arrangement made, auction date set in 30 days. I sat there staring at the screen. This was it. The moment when the universe handed me proof, in black and white, that all their loud confidence was just smoke. Before, I might have rushed over, tried to fix it, drained my account again to save them. Now, I hit print. Then I slid the paper into my boundaries folder. By noon, I heard the inevitable, the pounding at my door. This time, all 3 of them were on the porch. Dad red-faced, Denise tight-lipped, Tyler smirking like a kid who thinks he's about to win a game. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. Dad didn't waste time. You saw the notice. We can't lose the house, Maddie. You're going to help fix this. I folded my arms. No, I'm not. You're still family, he shouted, loud enough for the neighbors across the street to glance over. I didn't lower my voice. Family doesn't use you as a wallet. Family doesn't laugh while you're humiliated in front of half the neighborhood. Family doesn't commit fraud in your name and expect you to just take it. Denise stepped forward, eyes darting to the people watching from their yards. Do you have to make a scene? Yes, I said flatly, because you had no problem making one when it suited you. Tyler muttered under his breath. Unbelievable. I turned to him. You're right. It is unbelievable that I let this go on for as long as I did. Dad's voice dropped, that quiet, dangerous tone he used when he thought he could still intimidate me. If you walk away from this, you'll be nothing to us. I smiled, but there was no humor in it. Then I'll be nothing to you, and everything to myself. I stepped back toward the door, but before I went inside, I pulled the printed foreclosure notice from my folder and held it up where they could all see. This, I said, my voice cutting clean through the air, is what happens when the person you've been draining finally stops bleeding for you. And then I let it drop to the porch at their feet. The door closed behind me with a solid, satisfying click. Through the blinds, I watched them stand there. Dad frozen, Denise glancing at the neighbor's stares, Tyler kicking the paper like it might bite him. They left without another word. That evening, I posted a single vague line on my own social media. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to stand on their own 2 feet. The comments rolled in, people asking if I'd finally moved, congratulating me on my new place, sending messages of support. Not once did I name them. I didn't need to. Because the truth was, their downfall wasn't my story to tell anymore. It was theirs to live. And I was finally free to live mine.